Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Talk, the weekly comic conversation. Today, I want to talk about the classic anime film Princess Mononoke. Not just a classic anime, but a classic animated movie in general. Released in Japan in the year 1997, at the time this video was made, just last month of January, Princess Mononoke was just re-released in theaters for its 20th anniversary. Wanting to get into some more anime videos, I thought this was a relevant time to do Princess Mononoke. As I said, this film had a theatrical release in Japan of the year 1997. Then 2 whole years later, in the year 1999, it had its theatrical debut in the United States, with voice actors like Billy Bob Thornton, Claire Danes, Keith David, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Billy Crudup playing the voice of the main character. This movie was produced by Studio Ghibli, a film company that's put out plenty of classic anime films, and this was also directed by Hayao Miyazaki. Hayao Miyazaki is a legendary filmmaker in the realm of Japanese animation, who's responsible for several classic films that transcend the genre of anime and are recognized worldwide as classic animated films with critically acclaimed stories taking place in captivating worlds filled with great characters, lessons, mythology, and of course, beautiful animation, which is essentially what Princess Mononoke displays. With Miyazaki handling the story, this film is well known for its beautiful animation done by Studio Ghibli. When released, this was actually Japan's highest grossing film at the box office until Titanic came out later that same year. Like I said, it took 2 years for it to come to the US, where its box office numbers were not nearly as prosperous. Even with its decently well-known cast, it still only made a little over $2 million in the United States, out of its $159 million worldwide total. But word of mouth for Princess Mononoke spread quickly and is now revered as a classic of its genre, and even one of the well-known animated films from the 90s that wasn't Disney. Now that we've kind of discussed the exoskeleton of the movie, let's get right into it. I'm not going to get too spoilery, but I'm going to get into some detail, and if you don't want to be spoiled by anything, just tread lightly. So, Princess Mononoke follows the main character, Ashitaka, the prince of the Emishi people, whom, while defending his small village from a giant boar turned demon, becomes cursed after direct contact with the beast, resulting in him being banished from his village in order to keep the last of his people safe and uninfected. He journeys far to find the source and possible cure for the curse. He then ends up finding himself in the middle of a war between the people of a mining town and the gods of the forest, where he meets the faces of the front line of this war, including San, a human girl recognized as Princess of the Wolf Clan, otherwise known as Princess Mononoke. So what can I say about this film to do it justice? Let's start with the world that Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli created, where right from the beginning the beautiful landscape and essence of nature is made clear right away through incredible animation, along with, in the English version, which is what I'll be talking about, with Keith David narrating the initial backdrop of the mythology present in this world. I love when a film, animated or not, creates a cool mythology, giving the created world more depth and a history. In this case, I really like what they set up. It's not too complicated by any means, but it's still creative enough. Basically, since the beginning of time, gods have lived in the forest. Not only did their presence keep the forest healthy and abundant with life, but gave the animals and beasts basically souls and intelligence, in the simplest way I can put it. Humans and beasts once lived together in peace, but eventually man started killing the forest. Another thing I like about this movie, it's very much a fantasy adventure type movie, reminding me of things like Legend of Zelda, or even more recently Kubo and the Two Strings. Not so much story-wise, but you have a young, likable protagonist who goes on some type of adventure with all this mythology surrounding the story. That's basically what I'm getting at, which I'm a big fan of. And I feel like a good creative world for these characters to exist in is actually pretty important, At least my opinion when it comes to stories and stuff that I like. And the animation really does its part as well. The characters are not overly detailed, but they're satisfying, and the use of color is really used well. But the backgrounds and the forest look incredible. Really feels enchanted. Not only is it thick, dense, beautiful forest, but the way they portray the water, crystal clear, and some of the creatures are really creative. Not only can the animation be beautiful, but it can be dark and borderline creepy and off-putting when it needs to be. Not to mention the action scenes are really cool in my opinion and really well done. Doesn't use like all the same techniques as a lot of anime shows and films, which are great too, but in this, it seems like the action just seems really tight and precise. Every frame is quick, meaningful, and for example, like when Sand jumps and kicks somebody, it feels really satisfying. The film really gets going with an action scene, which is basically your opening scene, and then shortly after, Ashitaka is on his quest. Upon his trusty steed, Yakul, a loyal red elk. So, as I said before, our main character gets caught in the middle of this war between the gods of the forest and the people of this iron mining town. I feel like based on this description, it's really not hard to understand what the message of the movie might be. What you basically may see is a man versus nature story where nature fights back. Iron Town, in order to thrive, has to keep mining deeper and further into the mountain and into the forest, using up more resources and destroying more and more of the forest. And then obviously the gods and the beasts of the forest want to protect their home. So the message may be obvious, but to the film's credit, there's a lot going on in this world. It's not as simple as good versus evil. I like how this film shows and significantly involves the different beasts and gods of the forest, as they have different viewpoints on how to handle the situation, not always agreeing or being right. Some are even as bad and as twisted as the humans are themselves. And most of the humans in the residents of Irontown aren't bad people. It's a working, blue-collar town where people are just trying to survive, get by, and make a living. Not to mention, humans are at war with other humans. Imagine that. But mostly it revolves around Ashitaka trying to bring peace between these two worlds in what leads up to a pretty big climax. I really like this movie. It's not just a great anime, but a great movie in general and can really be enjoyed by anybody. Which brings me to my next point. I'm really not sure if I can call this a family movie or not. It's like right there on the border. It really almost is and really almost has that feel, but especially through the animation, there are definitely some parts and imagery that is a little more on the mature side, but it is rated PG-13. I don't think it's necessarily a bad film for kids to watch, but I would make sure they're at a mature enough age. If they get nightmares easily still, then maybe not. There are a few limbs and heads that do get decapitated, and some parts of the imagery are just plain creepy, like the little squirmy things that represent the infection of the demon curse. No movie is flawless, but I don't have many for this. If there is anything at all that sticks out, it's how obvious the message is. It's a little on the nose, but it is the 90s, and the environment was actually a pretty big topic back then. You know, save the rainforest and all of that. And maybe Miyazaki felt he wanted this message to be obvious. Maybe he cared and wanted this to be looked at and people to think about it. And to its credit, I would much rather watch this than something like Fern Gully or Captain Planet. Not knocking those things if you're a fan, but I do believe Princess Mononoke is a better project. And like I said, there's enough going on in this world to where the message, though obvious, it's at least made interesting. But this movie also has a pretty good story and some great characters as well. And Ashitaka is a main character that is very likable. Main characters a lot of the time are not my favorite, but Ashitaka makes a very strong case in this movie. At the start of this film, he's the prince of the Amishi people, a race that is actually thought to be extinct, whose last village resides in secret far to the east. Other than that, we do not get a whole lot of backstory on him, but his personality and characteristics are made very clear through his actions throughout the movie. He is smart and a very skilled warrior. He's caring and has respect for all living things, human or not, which is made very clear. Being from a village cut off from the rest of the world might make him a little naive, but he catches on quick, and it's not really to a fault. Almost an advantage on how he brings an unbiased perspective from the outside looking in. If Ashitaka is not my favorite character, then it is definitely Lady Eboshi. Voiced by Minnie Driver, she's basically the leader or in charge of Irontown. She is a fearless warrior who is highly ambitious in the success and expansion of Irontown as well as her own empire. She is the reason the humans are such a threat to the forest and its beasts, as she wages a war on it by destroying as much of it as she can. Her men also carry rifles, a rarity in this era. She's a great character because she's not just an evil person playing the villain. She legit cares for her people and the success of the town. Part of the whole war is for them to strive. She just doesn't give a damn about nature, that's all. And then she finds women equality and empowerment very important, resulting in the women of Irontown actually playing a significant role in the town with working jobs and being trained as fighters. San, or Princess Mononoke, voiced by Claire Danes, a human girl who lives in the forest as Princess of the Wolf Clan, daughter to the wolf god Moro. She's really the link between these two worlds, and I really believe that Ashitaka really sees this as well. I could get more into her with spoilers, but I'm not going to right now. Other than that, the other characters are mostly side characters. And another antagonist voiced by Billy Bob Thornton, who does a pretty good job, and his character has something to gain by working against the goals of the protagonist. Again, no spoilers. This is definitely a cool movie. If you're a fan of anime or Miyazaki films, there's no way you don't like it. Even if you're not into anime, but you're open to animated films, this might be one you give a try. I actually think, depending on your taste, this is one of the properties that would make a great doorway into anime if you are just a casual viewer. This is a great story with a couple great characters and a compelling lead. It's a great fantasy adventure tale with great animation along with a cool mythology, which helps to make up my favorite part of the movie, the world it takes place in. So, Princess Mononoke, if you've never seen it, check it out. If you have, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. I would like to get more in depth and into spoilers on this, and maybe in the future, if there's ever a demand for it, I will make another video and go more in depth on Princess Mononoke. Until then, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Thanks for watching. This is Ant Talk, the weekly comic conversation. Hey guys, did you like this video? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of my videos, click right here on this icon to become a subscriber. And if you are a subscriber, don't forget to ring that bell so you can stay updated with all my videos. And if you want to see another video just like this one, click right here. And as always, thanks for watching Ant Talk, the weekly comic conversation.